So Meteos recently did a patch overview video, and at the end he went over champs he'd like to nerf, and Janna was one of them. And I think a lot of people think Janna needs a nerf, but I'm just going to be treating Meteos as representative of all of them. So like I have my own personal thoughts about how to nerf Janna, and that's reducing the shield duration early, which I've gone over elsewhere. But here I just want to respond to what Meteos said about Janna, because while I agree with what he thinks about Janna's current state and that she deserves a nerf, I disagree with pretty much everything else he said. So starting with what he's right about, in her current state, she discourages aggression. Like she's a very reactive champion. She can't really do anything proactive herself, but she shuts down other champs when they try to make plays. So for her Q, when Leon or Alistar or Zac try to jump on you, Janna can just interrupt them and stop them from initiating. And now for what I disagree with him about, he clearly hates that this exists, right? He calls it a boring play style that takes no effort. He had to like explicitly say that he doesn't hate people who play a certain champion, which, when you have to actually say that you don't hate somebody for playing a champ and like the reason you would nerf it instead of completely removing it from the game is that you wouldn't be allowed to completely like remove it, it's pretty clear that you really don't like that champion. And so from his point of view, which I think he himself realized, like all the champs he doesn't like are the ones that like have that play style. Like his top three nerfs are like Ivor and Janna Lulu. He just doesn't like that play style, so he wants to remove like the instant interrupt abilities that Janna has. And his ideas for changes were basically like, how can we make it so that Janna can't stop me when I'm jumping on her as Zac or whatever, by removing the instant interrupt on Q and R. Which is, I think, basically like the quintessential Janna. So, like, I agree with him that it's really strong and that Janna can do that. But I also think that she should be able to do that. And also, as a side note, the other thing he mentioned was nerfing the AD on shield. But like, they actually did that a while ago, and I really didn't like that direction for nerfing her because it feels really good to use it on like a Graves or Lucian or like whatever AD carry, and have them do a ton of damage with it. Like, that really fits Janna's playstyle. Um, and personally, the way I would nerf Janna Shield is reducing the duration early because that would make it fit her playstyle even more. But like I said again, um, I've gone over that elsewhere. So going back to Janna's playstyle then, and her ability to prevent engages, Meteos thinks it's bad for a few reasons. One is that it takes no effort, but I definitely think it does because you need to be able to anticipate and like react to all the enemy initiation. Like you need to position correctly to interrupt it and be aware and ready for it so you can, react like almost instantly in a lot of cases. And it clearly takes skill because Janna's getting engaged on all the time. So like it's clearly not effortless. Like if it was, no one would ever get engaged on as Janna. I actually think there's a lot of room to improve because if you slip up like even once, you get engaged on. And like apart from maybe like, I don't know, Adrian or Lemon or somebody, like I don't know anyone who can actually like say I could play Janna 100% perfectly. Like even for those guys, I bet they still aren't like perfectly clean. But then there's the argument like, okay, regardless of how easy or hard Janna is to play, she's still just going to be a boring champion. Like Meteos said, she has a boring play style. And I'm not going to say he's wrong to dislike Janna because how much you like or dislike a champ is subjective and you can't be right or wrong for enjoying a certain playstyle. But what I will say is that there's a pretty large player base that does enjoy the playstyle. And I think the fact that there are people who do is all the reason you need because, like, not to get, overly philosophical here, but I don't think there's any such thing as a champ that's just, like, well designed as if it's something intrinsic to the champion. It's more like a champ is well designed if it's enjoyable for the people playing it. Because obviously for something to be enjoyable, there has to be a person to enjoy it. And so you can only really talk in terms of like what people enjoy. And I think there are people who like playing Janna. Now playing against Janna is another story. And I think that's why she needs a nerf. But I don't think everyone just finds her play style, to just be boring and effortless. And then another point Meteos brought up is that playing melee champs versus Janna, like especially like Zac, who's sort of his signature champion, like if you try and slingshot over Janna onto her AD carry, she'll just interrupt it. Although I do think a creative Zac can engage onto a bad Janna. Like it's still definitely true that if Janna positions correctly and reacts in time, and like isn't caught off guard, she can make it really hard for Zach to engage with his slingshot. So like Janna does stylistically counter Zach, but I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. Like I don't play Dota, so I might be wrong here, but I think in other MOBAs there like exist way more counters than in League. Like it's not just this hero is 10 out of 10, like this one's 9 out of 10, this one's 7 out of 10. Like you should just always pick Lulu because it's the best. It's like this specific matchup has an interaction that makes it so hero A counters hero B. And I think that can be interesting to have those specific interactions. I mean, it's easy to say that from my point of view, right? Like, I'm not the one stuck trying to play Zac into Janna, but I think in general it's fine. Like, even actually good that there are certain champs that counter certain other champs, and maybe if you want to pick Zac, you just have to suck it up and ban Janna. And I think it's a good thing. Like, it's actually pretty cool if champions have their own niche or niche. So, like, instead of just being like, okay, Karma or whatever is a 10 out of 10 champ, so I'm just picking this no matter what, you can actually be like, okay, the enemy picked Leona, Zac, Talon, whatever, Janna's really good here in this specific situation. So I like that she has an actual like identity of disengaging well versus melee champions rather than sort of just like general strength. But like I was saying earlier, I do think her general strength is too high and she needs a nerf. But I would rather do it in a way that preserves her identity as a reactive, disengaged, focused champ. Like the stuff Meteos was suggesting would hurt that identity. Or the Q&R nerfs would, not being able to like interrupt Zac or Alistar as they come in. But I think also the E change he suggested, it wouldn't hurt identity in the same way, but it still would because a big part of her playstyle is playing around her AD carry. So I mean, yeah, that was a lot of rambling, but I think Janna should be nerfed in a way that preserves her identity.